With time expired, welcome everyone. My name is Trevor Angood. Just giving me, I've got video off to the side and I can see the chat. Can I get a thumbs up or yes in the chat that you can hear me? Beautiful. Awesome. So I'll take a second to introduce myself as I post in the chat some resources for you, and I'll post everything again as well. My name is Trevor Angood. I'm the teacher librarian at Eastlake High School. I undergraduated at the University of Michigan, graduated from the Eastlake High School class of 2002, and I'm currently a master's of arts in educational technology at Cal State Long Beach. This presentation is actually going to be one of my grad school assignments. My professor and my students are here as well. For those of you from Long Beach, shout out to Long Beach, but this is also part of a district PD platform, district PD that's been going on for the past 2 weeks. Let me throw all of my resources again into the chat. If later on you have any questions in terms of where you would like to go to find some more resources, I have collected them all here in bit.ly Angood Presents. So I've done presentations throughout the week that have included about Google Forms that you'll see in just a second, as well as about Google Classroom. Click on either one of those and you can see the presentation here. And then off to the side, this great resource that Google provides is you can go to support pages that are specific to. That is the wrong link. I'll have to go back and change that. I didn't realize that. Let's try that one. Nope, still the wrong link. But anyway, in English, you can find resources that will allow you to click different questions to allow for finding answers if you have one past this session. So those are all posted there. I'll make sure to go back and fix that one because I haven't realized that until now. But the presentation that I'll be using is right here. However, for this session specifically, I like doing stuff live. So I'll be walking through this live. Feel free to use the chat box off to the side to ask any questions. When I did this session last week, we were running right about 30 minutes, 15 minutes for presentation, 15 minutes for questions. Certainly that can go over. Take whatever you want from this presentation. If you want to bounce early, I won't be offended, only just a little bit. Just kidding. But let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead, like I said, throw questions into the chat off to the side, and we'll get started. So Google Forms is an assessment tool. So Google Forms could really be used as any way to collect data about your students. So how to get there? So we'll get started in Google Drive, or you could simply, and then click the waffle up to the top, up on the right-hand side. Nope, wrong one, my apologies. You're gonna click on New, and then More, and then Google Forms. A quick tip in Google Drive, if you want to create a new insert Google tool here, you could just type in forms.new or docs.new, and it will automatically create a new Google document, or it will create a new Google form. So we have a Google form. I've used Google Forms in the past to collect data and information, perhaps for signups, for parent volunteers, for field trips, as well as for quizzes like I'm showing you in this session here. So first, before we get down and dirty with the main Google form right here, I would recommend starting in the settings because there's some settings that are specific that you should add and activate in this. The first and most important being that quizzes button. So you definitely want to make this a quiz. What that does is it activates all of the answer keys, the point totals, the grading, or the automatic grading that sort of helps you with your teaching practice. You're not grading a stack of quizzes. Now, if you're in a district, Sweetwater unfortunately is not a district, but if you come across a district where they have Chromebooks that are owned and organized by the district, you can activate a locked mode for Chromebooks. So if your district is using Chromebooks, this would be the way to activate it so that you're able to lock down the browser when they're taking the quiz. This cannot be oh, I'm just going to buy a Chromebook from Best Buy and then I can lock it down. No, this is only for Chromebooks that are maintained through a district license. Here's where you're able to release a grade, depending upon how fast students are able to see grades. When I show you a little bit later about grading short answer questions, those short answer questions will be marked automatically wrong until you grade them. So most likely you are not going to immediately release this unless you just have a bunch of multiple choice questions. That's completely up to you. But most likely it's going to be later after manual review. And then from here, you can select whether students can see missed questions, see correct answers, as well as point values. And just clicking over the little question mark next to it will show you, it will give you a short explanation of what each needs. And then in the presentation, along the bottom of the quiz when the students are taking the quiz, you can show a progress bar. If you just have one quiz where it's all one page and not broken up into different sections, it's just going to do 0 to 100%. It's not going to do question by question. Okay, it's 17% completed, 18% completed. It's going to show a progress bar by section. So if you have different sections where maybe it's just starting off with name period at the first part, and then the next section is going to be about your first learning standard, your second section is about your second learning standard, it will show the progress bar. Shuffling question order will do just as it says. It will shuffle the question order inside the section or on the whole page. And then showing a link to submit another response. That's going to be up to you, but most likely for this quiz, you'll want to uncheck that. And then you can say your quiz, for the confirmation, it's what shows after the quiz has been submitted. So your quiz was complete. Please continue. Small keyboard, my apologies. Continue with, and away you go. Okay. And then the general is just the general settings for the forms. So you definitely want to collect email addresses, especially if you're using this for a district sign-in like our @sweetwaterschools.net. Response receipts are if whether the person, after they take the quiz, they get an emailed copy of their form, not necessarily what they got right or wrong, but what they actually put in. And then you can select here. This would restrict users to only in our district or only in your district to use it. And on personal choice, it will ask whether they're limited to one response. So one response would just be they only get one chance to complete the quiz. After that, respondents you can select whether they can edit their quiz selection after they submit, or see summary charts and text responses at the end, which I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. Are there any questions in the chat that I can answer for you right now? Jesse, did you want to ask a question audio-wise?
I can answer here. Yeah, I'll answer it. That's better.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. So I noticed that I guess if you put in a long form answer, I already took the other training, so I may be leaving a couple minutes because I took the one with Ms. Venturino. But you had a few things here that I was wondering about. So I guess that now I understand why it automatically defaults to wrong on some of the long form or question or fill in the blank answers.
Correct.
What I was wondering was, is there a way to set it so it defaults to that being a correct answer and doesn't take off points until I review it?
I have not come across that. No, it's not going to mark it right until you actually go back and review it, unless you create in the answer choice a specific question. No, that's not even going to do it because it's still going to mark it wrong. No, it's not going to do that. It's going to automatically default to the a wrong answer before it's graded. So no.
So it would literally have to be like one word correctly spelled pretty much for a short answer.
Correct. Yep. If you're looking for a specific term like the U.S. Constitution and the kid has to spell it correctly, yes, that's not going to happen. And there's not a way to change that as far as I know.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Greg Cobb is asking to go back to the quiz to change the quiz. Can you go back to change the quiz? I'll see if Greg, I have you unmuted if you'd like to ask a question or.
Thank you.
Sure.
I already had created a couple of these forms to use for a student check-in, and before I present it, can I go back and make it a quiz to collect the answers?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Absolutely. Yes, you can, and then you can go back to set the answers. You can set points, but yes, you can do it after the fact. You can also make copies of those check-in forms that are going to be blank, and then you can start over with either adding new questions or whatnot. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so let's continue. So I've already made this a quiz. I've got the general ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So you have some settings up at the top. So for example, you may want to call this Chapter 14 quiz. It'll update the title here. You can give a form description saying, please complete this quiz after however many times that you want, or after completing a specific assignment. Probably the first thing you'll want to do is automatically add in a question for first name. Now, what Google Form does is that it will automatically update the question selection based upon what they think the answer you're looking for. So for example, if I add another one, let's say last name, and then period, on period, it's going to stay multiple choice. But let me go back to look at this first question. So I'll show you the rest of what putting together a quiz looks like. So the first spot right here is where you're able to submit your or to type your question. The next spot is what you're able to add an image that's attached to it. Perhaps you want your students to be able to reference an image, almost like a state testing standard. Then you have the option of selecting from all these different answer choices. Now, if I wanted to spend 2 hours going through this, I could talk about each one, but I'm not that much of an expert on all of these. However, in my presentation on slide, let me find it real quick. On slide 9, the following question types allow for an answer key. This shows you directions of how to create an answer key for each of these questions. I am only going to show you the short answer, the short, long answer, and also the multiple choice. But back in my presentation, if you'd like to see more about how to create this, you're more than welcome to. It's in slide 9. And again, I'll post all my information at the end of this presentation as well. So once we have the first name, you'll have the short answer text here to show what the answer is going to look like. I'm not going to set an answer key because there's not a right or wrong answer for this, but I'll show you how to set that a little bit later. This is a duplicate. To be able to duplicate the question, I'll show you a quick tip in terms of how that might be helpful. You can delete the question and then selecting whether the answer is required or not. So probably, definitely for the first name, last name, I want to make all of these required. So again, for the period, so for the period, I'm going to put in items like first period, and then it'll start asking, or sometimes it will sort of guess what answers you would like in the answer, but I'm just going to add these. And that's how I'm going to collect all this information for my students who are taking my quiz. Off to the side is where you have some tools. Oh, I'm sorry, great question, Stacey. Required means that they have to put in an answer before they can move on to either submit the quiz or finish the section. So they have to answer it. So for those are all created, okay? Now, in order to add more items and off to the side, I've got the add question button. I've got being able to import questions from another form, adding a title or description, adding an image, a video, as well as adding a section. So say, for example, I've got, okay, my first name, last name, and my period, but now I want to add a new section. So adding a new section, this will be items that are covered in section 1 quiz. And then I want to create my first multiple choice. So my first multiple choice is what is 2 plus 2? Then my options, I can add 3, 4, 5, and negative 345. Now I want to set my answer key to make sure that this is going to automatically grade for me. So I hit answer key. With the answer key, I've got the ability to select how many points I want this question to be. So I'll make it 1 point, and I'll select the correct answer, which is here. I'm also able to add answer feedback. So for example, for incorrect answers, I can direct them to a page or to a YouTube or whatever you'd like in terms of showing them what could help them answer the question. And for correct answers, I can just say, great job, and moving on. Okay. Now, when I hit done, I'm going to make sure to turn on required. A quick tip if you have to put in a lot of multiple choice questions, and so you don't want to have to worry about the answer key and making sure it's marked for a point, is in hitting these the 3 dots for the options, there's an option to show a description, which is some helper text underneath the question. Going to a section based on an answer, this gets a little bit more advanced, but you can have the question jump down to different sections. I'm not going to cover that because I've made myself confused quite too many times with that. And then to shuffle the option order. In the quiz settings, I have set this where questions are going to be shuffled. This allows for answer choices to be shuffled. So no matter what, when someone sees this, it's always going to know it's always going to know that the answer is 4, but the answer choices are going to be shuffled. Now, in order to speed up my workflow a little bit faster, I can just duplicate this question. And make it what is 3 plus 3. And then I want to make sure that seeing my checkbox here, my correct answer is now going to be 6. I can make these whatever I want, and it's still going to grade it correctly. a lot faster than trying to create the quiz over and over, or create the questions over and over and over and over. Okay. Then the next question that came up when I taught this last section was, what is the difference between a short answer and a paragraph? It is basically what is going to show as an answer option. So I'm going to create one and just call it, where are we? And then I'm going to create another short answer or a longer paragraph answer that's going to ask what is going on. And then to show you what that looks like, and anytime you want to take a look at what the quiz looks like, you're going to hit the preview button up at the top. So the preview button, I'll go ahead and answer my required. Students will see that anytime there's this little red asterisk, I'll make the text a little bit bigger for you. Anytime they see a red asterisk, that means that question is required. And I'll say that I'm in second period. Now you'll see that I can see that the quiz questions are worth 1 point and the answer choices have been randomized. So I can go 4, 6, and then a short answer here just shows a shorter answer box, but you can type in as much as you want. So for example, just add in some filler text. And I can just keep on going, hitting paste, 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 paste. Same thing here, and just adding more and more text. So this one, the paragraph text makes it look like a paragraph. The short answer is just a short answer. It just looks like a short answer response. Okay. So that is one last thing in this one is that if you'd like to change the look of your form, because it automatically defaults to this purple response, what you would do is hit customize theme. I can choose a theme color as well as a background color here, or I can hit choose image and they give me a bunch of different options and you can upload your own as well. So I can go here and hit insert. Now the colors changed to make it sort of complementary as well, and you can change the font color or the font style as well. Okay, so I will take questions for a few minutes and then we'll play around with some of the data in the quiz that you hopefully filled out before we came in, just so I can show you what it looks like to grade it. I do have one question from Christina that I'll answer as well. What's the difference between responses on the form versus the quiz? Christina, do you mind if I unmute you and then we can chat about that one? Because I'm not sure if I correctly understand the answer or understand the question. I have you unmuted if you'd like.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, I've used Google Forms before, and on the responses, it will give me data as well. So I was just wondering what the difference was between using a Google form and versus using the Google form quiz, I guess.
Sure. I'm gonna show you that in just a second. So yes, you still get to see the same data, almost like a sign-up sheet. You'll see how many people signed up to bring a soft drinks or dishes or whatnot, but there's a lot more to it. I'm gonna show you that in just a second right after this quick questions, or we can just dive right into it and then save for questions at the end. But no, great question.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the data. So I had you fill out the form ahead of time. Let me swing it into the window. So the quiz was, by all means, feel free to get questions wrong on this one, but it was just quick questions like who had the longest signature, select the words with the correct spelling, so on and so forth. And then we've got some responses in the window. So when I first pull up the responses, it looks a little bit something like this. I'm going to make the window a little bit larger so you can see this. But you're able to see on this first tab a summary. So what the summary does is it gives you a total points distribution about your quiz. It gives you the frequently missed questions. No one got who had the largest signature on the Constitution. It wasn't John Hancock. That's the Declaration of Independence. And then some scores broken down by your emails. Then I can see the sort of breakdown by question of correct responses. And then is where this is where you'll be able to see the difference in terms of being able to grade those quizzes. So the first one is that I'm able to grade by question. So if you have your short answer or your long answer quiz questions, this is where you can grade them by question. It used to be in Google Forms that it was just either the summary or the individual. So you would have to scroll down and find the short answer questions and then grade them and then go back and find them. This is all new to me. I got excited when I saw it. So if I go to my short answer, who had the largest signature in the Constitution, I can see all the responses and then start grading. Nope, Biggie Smalls did not have the largest signature in the Constitution. I did not. I'm sorry, I wasn't around. John Hancock didn't. George Stephanopoulos didn't. And then I can add feedback as well, either a link, a text, or a YouTube video. The actual answer is, for those that are curious, was Daniel of St. Thomas Jennifer from Maryland. He had the largest signature. Okay. So you have this answer key that you can set beforehand. That's one that I set beforehand in the question, so I can come back and reference it. And then for selecting the words, I'm going to go ahead and stay on this page to save the grading. And then when I go back again, select the words with the correct spelling. Come on, Google. Let's try that again. Whoops, oh, go ahead and hit save. There we go. And then who had the select the words with the correct spelling is here. So I can say, yep, this person got 3 points, this person got 2. And then I have added a check to this page. Is actually coming from an article to check which ones are correct, and students see this whenever you release it. And then back at the top, I'm able to look at this individually. So I can see for Ryan Smith how he did. I said good use of a calculator. I said good try for individual feedback. And then his point total is going to be 3 of 5 points. So I can go back and go down and select, here's one of my classmates, and go ahead and release the score. And she will get an email in just a second saying that's of her quiz results, and she's able to see it. You can also do a printed copy as well, or print this as a PDF. You can also turn on or off whether the form is actually active or not by just hitting accepting responses or not accepting responses. And finally, in the Google Sheets, if you do want to have a spreadsheet of how everyone answered just to review the raw data, like a Google form, this automatically sets up as a Google Sheet that you can review all the way across to see student names and emails, their scores. So if you're entering this into a grade book, that's why I would recommend having in here a first name and a last name, because based on grade books, they're either organized by last name or first name. Then you can organize it however you see fit. Kevin, great question. In terms of releasing scores, what releasing scores does is it sends the results either out to individual students that you select. So if I go back in here and select another one and hit release score, it's going to release that I've gone through and graded all of these and said, okay, I'm all done grading. I want to show what scores they got. So I hit the release scores, and then I can select the people who to release scores to, and it will send an email and release it. Okay. Are there any other questions or anything else I can answer for you? I can unmute you and we can chat, or can you select Alt-A to select auto release? That's selecting all. So no, I could just hit here to either release all the recipients all at once or individual people for the email, by email address or by name. Any other questions I can answer for you? Is there a rubric feature to use while grading, Randy? There is not in here, but through Google Classroom there is. In Google Classroom, there's an option in the assignment to be able to allow for rubric grading. That rolled out after I had finished teaching in the classroom and moved to the library. So I tried playing it with a little bit yesterday in my presentation about creating an assignment in Google Classroom. Very user-friendly, and you're able to grade using a rubric as well. Rob, are you able to insert media other than text in the questions? Yes, you are. Going back into my chapter 14 quiz, let's create a new question. Excuse me. Adding an image you can upload. I think my Google Drive has a bunch of stuff, has some images that I can upload or include. Let's see, I'm trying to think where I have one available. We'll use a picture of my nephew on election day 2016. And that appears right here at the top. Okay. And then I can add options as well. What you could also do is at the top of the section. So say, for example, you want students to view a YouTube video or an image beforehand. I got to reset the zoom on that, my apologies. What you can do is add a video. And then let's say I'm doing a quiz on Pearl Harbor. I can include an attack on Pearl Harbor here. And then that puts the video into down here, but then I can move it into place by just moving it up. Okay, so it'll start the section there. Thank you very much. How can you release it anonymously, Loan? Great question. Releasing the quizzes anonymously? I'm not sure about that question. Luann, go ahead and type that answer. I want to show one more thing that I forgot about. I know that I do have some fine arts teachers, or perhaps you want to see a notebook page of student work. You can collect images in a quiz. Oops, find my question. So one of the options that I will show you is a file upload. This came up because an art teacher, the last time I presented, asking about collecting student work. You can have a file upload option as long as the student can get it into their Google Drive. For example, if they want to take a photo of it, if they want to take video of something, once they connect it to their Google Drive, and I'll show you what this looks like on the quiz, as long as they can get it into their Google Drive, they can upload it for you to review. So for example, attach artwork here. I could select that I only want to allow specific types, so perhaps I only want images. And then the max number of files is 1, max file size is 10 megabytes. Make it required. So what that looks like on the flip side is, let me fill out my quiz with my fake answers real quick. For that question specifically, here's my YouTube video. I just hit add file and I'm able to upload, or I'm sorry, I take that back. You're able to upload directly from your computer or from your phone, as well as anything from your Google Drive. Okay. Shannon, how would you use Google Forms right now during this pandemic? Great question. Excuse me. I know some teachers and colleagues on my site have used it for checking in with students, perhaps asking maybe what book they're reading or just collecting ideas. I've used it as a Google form following a video for students to ask any questions in sort of a so it's almost anonymous, but you can collect answers just to see how students are doing. I've used it as an assessment after an assignment. I've used it as an assessment as a quiz or as a test. But it's also, I mean, it's easy for Google Forms because you can get it on a phone and it's easy to read on a phone. So I like Google Forms, especially just as a great way just to check in with students. Perhaps for a worksheet, maybe students, you want to do a quick grading of worksheets. I know this is a little bit of a different time for worksheets, but in the past, I know of teachers that have done a Google form to collect answers from a worksheet instead of reviewing a stack of 30. Maybe in the worksheet, they only ask in the Google form about what are the answers for questions 1, 4, 6, and 10. Boom, that's a quick way to grade that you don't have to bring home 100, 120 pages of work to be able to grade it. It grades it for you automatically. So it's a great data collection tool. They are able to go back and review. You've removed, Dr. Azai, how do you remove early responses from records when the quiz for the second time with the second class? Great question. So in the responses, oops, sorry, let me go back to my Sweetwater one. In my responses, again, making sure to select that you limit to one response so that people have to sign into a Google Drive or can only respond once. And then if a kid comes up saying, hey, Mr. Angood, I screwed up on this assignment, I want to do the quiz again, you can either scroll to the individual questions. So I can go to Shannon's and then I can go ahead and delete her quiz. So if she's already done it and you only have it set for one time, if I post a link again, Shannon should be able to pull up and go to the quiz again to go ahead and answer the question. So basically it disappears. With the limit, if you don't have the limit to one response selected, they can obviously do it over and over again. And then you just have to go back to find the most recent one, which you can, and then go ahead and find the score. With that being said, I'm happy to stick around and answer questions. I will go to my closing slide here. And then I will post the eval for Sweetwater District employees here. That is all listed there. But I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions that you have. We can either chat audio or by chat. I'm happy to do either one. But other than that, I greatly appreciate everyone coming. Again, my name is Trevor Angood, teacher librarian at ETEC High School. Make sure to visit my resources, which are available here at bit.ly/AngoodPresents, no period. But yeah, I'll stick around, answer any questions. Other than that, thank you very much for coming. I greatly appreciate it. Have a great day. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone, but you're welcome to unmute yourself if you do have a question, if you want to chat by audio. Thank you very much for coming again. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Sorry, now you guys can unmute yourself if need be. My apologies.
Trevor, what's the, how are the answers to a given form quiz formatted? I'm thinking about getting those into Jupyter, which I'm using in my grade book.
So you want to get the answers in, or you just want to get the grades in?
Just want to get the grades. So how,
Oh,
is there
yeah.
some kind of report or something that you can show?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, yep.
It.
It's right here. Yep. So that sheet, you can either do the question or do individual show the points here, or if you activate the activate or turn on the view response in sheets. So for example, my chapter 14 quiz I haven't activated yet, but this is what happens. I create a spreadsheet, say I want to call it chapter 14 quiz responses. You can change it to whatever you like, hit create, and then it will create a Google sheet automatically. No one's answered this yet, but back here, I've got all the scores right here. This will automatically update. So if I go back, I'm gonna pick a random one. So let's say, I'll just pick Mary Brunda. That, okay, maybe I'll just give her 1 point instead of 3. So if I hit save, it should automatically update Mary's score. So if you look for Mary's score right here, it gave that extra point, and it updates automatically.
What's the, can you go back and change your answer key after the fact? Like say you realize you mess up and you can actually change it instead of having to go through and check every individual score?
Yes, you can. And if I'm like 99% sure that, so I go back to questions, I'm like 99% sure that it will change the answer. Let's play with this one. So the if I make that 590, let's see how many people get it right. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this so I can see the change. Actually, let's just do this answer key. I'll make that 590 the answer. Hit done. Excuse me. Now it should show. Now it's saying that 590 is the correct one and how many people got it right. And then here, I might have to give it a refresh. But like this one right here, the Stacey Ehrenstein, it hasn't updated. Let's try that again. Stacey, now it's still showing it's incorrect. I'm not sure if it's one of those where it just has to take a while, or maybe if I release the scores again. Let me go back in here under individual. I'll find that Stacey one real quick. Stacey. Now it's showing that she has the points. I'm not sure if it's something where maybe you have to delete the Google Sheets, or sorry, delete the connection, create a new one, and it will create new data for you. I'm not sure on that one. I would say maybe it's just an option. It should be something where perhaps if you do have to change a question after the fact, that you can unlink the form, delete it, and then try a new one. So if I unlink the form, let's try it. If I unlink the form, okay, its spreadsheet has been unlinked. So if I hit this button again, I can say, okay, create a new one. Take 2. I have to make sure to change this after the fact, or else something's going to go horribly wrong in my next presentation if I present this again. Stacey Ehrenstein, yeah, she got it right. So that would just be the one thing, like maybe at the end, or maybe you just don't do the sheet, don't do the Google Sheet until you're absolutely sure that the correction or answers are correct, everything's been checked and modified, and then you can go back and review.